t-shirt on.
Yeah. Okay, switch this on. Okay, I've got a microphone because we're actually recording this. So if you do want to check it out again later, if you've forgotten anything I said that you think is important and you want to have another look, you can jump online and I'll tell you all via email, I think, with a link to where you can access these recordings. So if you do want to like try taking some notes or something though, like I said, I've got like Alicia said, we've got the note-taking workshop later this afternoon. So might be a chance for you to just sort of test it out and see how you go, but no pressure. You don't have to because, as I said, this is all available later. And plus this one is really kind of a more casual sort of a workshop just to give you guys an idea of what to expect. Because how many people here have ever studied higher education before, like a university or TAFE or something like that? Yeah, okay, so some of you are probably going to be across some of this stuff, but even still, Flinders, is that new to you guys who have studied before? So yeah. Maybe? No? Okay, so hopefully there's something that you can take away from this. Who's come straight from high school? Yeah, okay, cool. So hopefully you guys will learn some stuff here. Is anybody here like the first person in their family to attend university? Yeah, so that means we offer, I was as well. I was also first in my family to attend university. And so I remember I was terrified when I first arrived at university because I had no idea what was going on. I had nobody that I could really ask what was going on because I was the oldest in my family and, like I said, the first person to make it this far in higher education. So, like, I get it. It's really nerve-wracking. Does anyone feel... oh, sorry. I should actually just say what we're going to cover, basically. So how do we prepare for university? What are the expectations that you should have academically and what's going to be expected of you? How do we get organised with time management? A little bit on dealing with procrastination, but I'll probably have a much bigger workshop all about that a little bit later on in the semester when it becomes probably more of a problem. And then just some general tips for sort of looking after yourself because it's very easy to become overwhelmed and forget that you have a life outside of uni. So what I really wanted to ask is how we're all feeling, whether you feel excited, I don't know, Dawson-esque or absolutely terrified. Where on this line of like happy, sad, or kind of like totally freaked out do you reckon you feel? Somewhere. Who's like this excited baby? Yeah. Excited baby? Yeah? Sad Dawson? Sad Dawson? Yeah. A couple of sad Dawsons. And terrified cat? A couple of terrified cats? Yeah. Okay, cool. Everybody feels probably somewhere on that spectrum, right? You probably feel all of them at once. So something that I just want to make really clear at the beginning is that everybody feels like that. It's totally normal to feel completely overwhelmed, have literally no idea what you're doing, and to feel like you're the only person who feels like that. Okay, and that's, I think, something that we often don't talk about because you might look around the room and you see everybody else talking to people and they like, oh, they've already got their ID card and they already know where the library is, and I couldn't even find my car when I left yesterday, so, you know. But the truth is that like everybody, even if they look totally cool and calm and collected, they're probably like little ducks and their feet are like waddling madly underneath because that's how probably most of us feel. Does anyone actually genuinely feel totally chill and like across everything? Okay, well, you've done this before, so no?
No, not this time.
Okay, what have you studied before?
Just some training stuff.
Oh, okay, okay, cool.
Nothing crazy.
Yep. That's all right, it's still something, yeah? You're feeling pretty chill?
Yeah, I've done major study before.
Okay, good.
Diploma in RT.
Have an idea what to expect then? Yeah, and you're just sort of chill as well? Yeah. You're okay? That's good. Because that's also very valid. You are allowed to feel chill. It's a good thing. Okay, so because a lot of the time we feel imposter syndrome. And I think quite often, again, if you're like one of the first people in your family who's attended university, it's very easy to feel like this because you probably feel like you maybe don't belong. So imposter syndrome is the thing that we feel when we're looking around and we're like, oh, everybody's going to figure out that I am fake and I've frauded my way into university and everybody else is smarter and more capable and more deserving of being here than me. I must have got just really lucky, or I just happened to do the right thing at the right time, or they totally overestimated my abilities and have for some reason let me into this thing, and then everyone's going to figure out I don't know what I'm doing and they're going to kick me out. I felt like that through most of my university career, especially when I was doing my PhD. I was terrified that at any moment someone was going to tap me on the shoulder and tell me that they'd made a mistake and I wasn't supposed to be here. But again, this is about knowing that these feelings are very real. And even if you don't feel them now, it's possible it might come up for you later in your study. So just be aware that it happens. That's all I want you to know, is it happens to a lot of people. And if you feel it, it doesn't mean that it's true. Like, you are here because you belong here and you do deserve to be here. And if you are feeling that way, you just need to come and talk to us about it and we'll help you work through it, okay? It's really, really normal to feel like that. Because the first few weeks, the first semester in particular, is going to be really, really up and down, right? So at the moment you maybe feel totally chill or excited baby about being at uni. You're like, yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's do this. I've got my ID card. I've got my pens and my paper. I'm like, I love stationery, so I get really excited at the beginning of the semester because I get to buy a lot of new stationery, and I'm like, yeah, let's get started. I'm really bored after the break. So you might be feeling good, but then, you realize that Flinders is huge. It's a massive change. And also you probably are dealing with not just starting university, but possibly like moving to Adelaide. Like, I know there's quite a few people who have just had to like uproot their whole lives and come to this city for the first time. So there's going to be a lot of overwhelming feelings as you try to figure out, what is this space? What's expected of me? Where is everything? How do I find my way around? How do I even get to my lecture theatre? And you might find that those stress levels cause you to feel a little bit more negative. And then feeling like in your first lectures and tutorials, this is massive, what have I done? What have I gotten myself into? I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep up with the content or keep up with the pace of university or whatever it is. So just expect that this kind of up and down feeling is happening to everybody around you. But then, you're going to have your highs as well. So you'll get on top of things, you'll get used to it, you'll start doing your first assignments, you'll get your feedback on your first assignments. And even if maybe you didn't do quite as well as you would have liked, at least you did it, so you might be feeling like, okay, I'm kind of getting the handle on this, everything's going to be okay. But at the end of semester, a lot of stuff's due. Like, you're probably going to have 4 assignments due all in week 6. That happens all the time, and you're going to get really overwhelmed. You might feel like, again, towards the end of semester, you've got exams coming up, major assignments all due at the same time. It's too hard. But then, hopefully you end on a high because you finished and it's the holidays and you can have a break. So again, this is just about managing your expectations, okay? Because the first couple of weeks are probably going to be cruisy, and then it will get really hard. Not really, okay, that's an over-exaggeration. It'll get busier, okay? So knowing that that's coming will help you to be able to plan, help you stay on top of things, and help you realize that this is just a stage and that it will pass, okay? That's really important to remember. So preparation is really the key to being able to navigate all of these pits and falls. I'm a huge organizational nut. You can come and see me, like, if you really want to, nut out your timetable, get yourself organized, get all your due dates, and ready. I will go through with that with you one-on-one. You can book an appointment to come in and see me. I'll tell you how to do that later. But I do have a few tips. So in terms of preparation, I think it's really important to get to know the campus, and we will have our tour this afternoon, or the scavenger hunt, so you'll kind of learn where a few really important things are this afternoon. But otherwise, just spend some time wandering around, especially if you have like classes down at Sturt as well. Like, go and find maybe your lecture theatres, your tute rooms, early. So whether that means just getting to that first class a little bit earlier so you've got time to just sort of have a look around the building, figure out where the toilets are, where you can get water that's nearby. How long is it going to take you to get from one room to another? Because you have 10 minutes usually between classes if you've got them back to back. And if you've got a class all the way at the top of, in the engineering building at the top of the hill, and then your next class is down at Sturt, probably quickly realise you're not going to make that. So figure out how long is it going to take me to get around, what's nearby that I need. There's also things like getting to a car park. Has anyone driven to campus yet already? Yeah, so this week you probably haven't had too many problems getting a car park. But in week 1, if you're not here before 9 AM, you are going to have to walk a long way from your car. So we call the top of the hill Siberia. We call it Siberia for a reason, because it's up in the middle of nowhere. It's very high up. And it can take you 15 minutes to walk from where your car is to wherever your class is. So figuring out how long it's going to take you just to get around campus is really important. And scouting out where the best, which car parks are going to be full at what time, because that can save you a lot of time in the long run when you're not driving around, you know, madly trying to look for car parks. You can lose an hour, seriously. But on that, just remember as well, there are loop buses around the campus. So there's the loop bus that goes to Tonsley, then up into Sturt Medical Centre, Bedford Park, and there's just the Bedford Park one that will take you to Sturt, the medical centre, and back up here. So you can park your car sort of down the bottom of the hill, and you can get the loop bus, and there's shuttle buses from the car parks as well, okay? These are important things to know. So the next thing is to try to treat uni like a job. I think that's an important thing, is because we often look at our timetable and you might only have a couple of contact hours per class, right? A lot of people's timetables are just like, okay, 2 hours on a Monday, got like an hour class in the morning and then a 2-hour class in the afternoon on a Tuesday, nothing on a Wednesday, and then maybe another 2-hour and a 1-hour class on a Thursday or whatever. Does anyone's timetable look like that, where it looks quite spread out and like you don't have very much in between? So it can be really easy to fool yourself into thinking like that you have a lot of spare time, because your timetable looks like you have a lot of spare time. If you're doing something like nursing, your timetable won't look like that. You will have no problem with not knowing how much time you have. So even though, so 18 units of study, which is what makes up an individual unit. Okay, so each topic that you study, each topic you study is 4.5 units. And over the semester, if you're full-time, you'll have 18 units. So that's your 4 topics for the semester together equals 18. Altogether, that's on average about 15 contact hours, so 15 hours in class, but you're expected to be doing 38 hours worth of work. So that means the majority of your time at uni is going to be spent studying in your own time. So it means you're going to be doing readings, it means you're going to be doing maybe online quizzes, or group work, or whatever it might be. The majority of that's happening outside of class time. So you really do need to have a schedule, okay? Because otherwise it can be very easy to fall behind because you underestimate how much time you actually need to spend on this stuff. The other reason you want to treat uni like a job, like a full-time job, is because if you actually map out that time and say, okay, so I'm going to be at uni between 10 and 4 or 10 and 5, even if I've only got 3 hours worth of contact hours in that time, because I'm going to do all of my uni stuff on campus, right? It's an active learning environment. You've got the library, you've got Yunggorendi, you've got dedicated study spaces and resources that you can use to help you get all your work done. And then also that means that when you go home at 4 or 5 o'clock, you don't have to think about uni anymore. You can go home and you can go to your sports practice or go to the gym, or just chill and watch Netflix or whatever it is that you might want to do, and you don't have to worry about it. So I do recommend getting into some sort of habit, and even if those hours don't work out for you, figure out what hours do work for you. How is it going to fit, how are you going to fit that 38 hours a week into your day? Another thing is that those 38 hours may not always look exactly the same throughout the whole semester. And so that's why it's important to also plan ahead. Because like I said, certain weeks you're going to have a lot of assignments due. So that means you don't want to just be doing all those assignments in that week. You want to be doing them in the weeks leading up to it. So it's about planning so that that workload is spread out as evenly as you can try and make it. The other thing as well is you guys already in this room together have a cohort, right? You guys are you already getting to know each other. Keep that up. You know, make connections with people, talk to people, make friends. Like that's a really important part of uni life. You know, you're not just here to study, right? University is a massive part of your life. Probably most of you have at least committed to a 3-year degree, if not something more. So get involved in the community. You'll have a much more kind of positive experience. You'll be much more engaged if you're kind of doing other things as well. So there's lots of FUSA clubs that you can join, and next week during orientation they'll have all of those clubs out that you can kind of go and scope out and see what's around. There's clubs for everything, anything you can think of. There's like a Quidditch club, there's like creative writing clubs, there's video gaming clubs, there's political clubs, there's all sorts of stuff. So pretty much anything that you are interested in, you can find a club. I think there's like a Counter-Strike club even, you know, like a very specific video game club. You can find anything that you basically want. There's also, of course, FISA, which you'll hear more about tomorrow, this afternoon or tomorrow? Tomorrow. So yeah, it's really good for your mental health. This is the TAV as well. Did anyone see where the TAV is so far? Yeah, there's lots of food and drink places on campus. The TAV have happy hours all the time, and they've got like pool tables and stuff. Like, just like, yeah, I'm not saying, you know, this is when you've done all of your study for the day and you want to chill and relax, you know. But it is important to look after yourself, basically, is what I'm saying. You know, so get involved, chill out, and you'll be fine. So this is the thing that I keep harking on about, which is getting organised. So you guys will end up with a semester planner and a diary before the end of this orientation. So make sure you use those. And again, book an appointment with me if you'd like to go through them in detail, and we can map out what your semester looks like. But I do want to show you, because I know that this is probably new to a lot of people. Has anyone been on Flow yet? Okay, how have you guys found navigating Flow?
Wait, is that like where you like arrange your classes?
That would be probably the student system. Flow is where you access your topics. Hang on. I'll log in and I'll show you anyway. Except that I'm going to have to... You got to authenticate it and verify it. It'll just take me a minute. Lots of security. Okay. So Flow is basically, so it's called Flinders Learning Online, and this is sort of your online portal for all of your topics. So this is called Okta. Okay, so Okta is sort of your homepage. It's where you'll find links to all of the main things that you'll need. So it'll look something like that, but everyone's will be a little bit different depending on what you use. So the ones you'll probably use the most are Flow. Outlook, that's your emails. Okay, so it's really important to make sure you check your Flinders emails, because that's how your lecturers will primarily, oops, no, I don't want to actually open that, how they'll actually communicate with you. The library, and I think you guys will also have student system on there, I think, as well, which, yeah. So let's just jump into Flow really quickly. Because what is important to do early, before your classes start, if possible, is to have a look at your topics and download the topic guidebooks. So the topic guidebooks are basically the Bible for each topic. They will tell you information like what times and where the lectures are, where the tutorials are, what required readings you have, so any textbooks that you might need to purchase, due dates, your assignment details and due dates. So each Flow page does look a little bit different. This is sort of how they will generally look. They'll have like this page will stay static, and it will probably, hopefully, have all of the main information. So you can see that there's announcements. So that'll be things that your topic coordinator needs you to know. General discussion, this is where other students will post questions, or you might have required answers that you need to post up on there. The statement of assessment methods is a really important document. So this is your official formal document that outlines all of your assignment requirements. So all of the requirements to pass the topic. So it'll say whether or not extensions are allowed or what conditions in which you need to get extensions. It'll tell you how late you can submit an assignment before you fail, whether or not resubmissions are allowed, what percentage of your grade comes from each assignment, things like that. So this is sort of the formal stuff. And then you should have, see it, a topic guidebook, which will be something like this, a handbook or guidebook. It's usually a PDF that sort of outlines all of the major information. It might introduce you to the tutors. It'll probably have like a welcome, things like topic aims, like I said. So it's got timetable, you know, where each lecture, what time, you know, assessment details, important links, readings, what you'll be doing each week, which is also important if you want to prepare so that you can get an idea of, okay, well, do I actually know anything about The Tempest? Maybe I just want to do a quick Google and find out what it is, you know, and do I need to buy that book or whatever it might be. So have a look at this, because really importantly, it'll give you the assignment information, okay? So I recommend grabbing this and popping all of those due dates in your diary, but also how many words, like how big is each assignment? You know, because you're going to spend a lot more time on like a 2,000 word essay than you will on like a 500 word reflection or something like that. And if you just have the due dates in there, you might get a little bit of a like false idea about how much work is required from you at each point. So if you make it clear, this is a small assignment, this is a big assignment, okay, with the big assignment, I need to plan a little bit earlier than I might for one of the other ones. So yeah, have a jump on here. You can also, you'll notice all of your readings should be, maybe not. This is an older topic, so it might not have the normal readings, but usually there'll be a link to topic readings on there as well. I don't think any of the topics I have access to have those, but I'll show you. If anyone needs help with any of those, just let me know. We can go through it together. Okay. Does that all make sense? Yeah? Okay. So this is what the student planner looks like. I also recommend using both the student planner and maybe putting that in whatever study space you have. So if you do have a desk or something like that at home or in your bedroom, somewhere you see it when you're like kind of in that study space, so that you can just get an idea of the whole spread of the semester, you know, because your assignments will cluster. So here where it's sort of week 10, 11, you're probably going to have a lot of assignments due in this space. And then you might not have anything here. And so if you can see that coming, you can be like, okay, well, if I've got 4 assignments due then, but nothing here, then I'm going to use this time so that I'm prepared for this time, okay? And then, oh, sorry, that's the topic guidebook and the statement of assessment methods. I would also get a diary so that you can see the sort of more minute week to week, what is it going to look like? Because your weeks will change very slightly from each other. So having the big picture idea and then the nitty gritty can be really, really helpful. You can also use that to write yourself some goals as well, which is what I'm going to talk about now, because time management is one of the issues that students come to see me with the most, and something that a lot of people maybe either don't really think about until they find themselves really deep, and then they're just, it's sort of like, oh my God, I don't know how I can get myself out of this mess that I've, you know, because I didn't plan in advance and I didn't sort of think about it. Or it might just be that you're trucking along okay, but you feel like you could do better, or you want to make more efficient use of your time. So it's an important thing to get used to. So, like I keep saying, use your diary to plan your class time. But also, again, because you've got that, if you've got that spread of time where you've got maybe an hour class in the morning, let's just say, yeah, this is what your semester contact hours look like. Does this sort of look vaguely like similar to anyone's timetables? A few nods. So you'll notice that there is lots and lots of spare time, okay? So don't forget to also factor in those extra hours. So put in all your other responsibilities, you know, because you'll notice that your calendar will fill up as soon as you start adding in, okay, well actually when do I need to go to work? When do I have, you know, netball practice or whatever it might be? Also, like, when have I got friends, like, socializing stuff on? Do I have a family dinner that I need to go to? Or I always have, you know, dinner at my, like, Nana's house on a Sunday evening, so you know that you're always going to, that time, you're not going to spend that time studying, right? Sometimes we can trick ourselves into thinking, oh, it's okay, I've got all weekend. I'll do my study on the weekend. But actually, I've got a shift at work. I then have a netball game. I then have my friend's 21st birthday party. I then have, you know, Sunday dinner with my parents. And suddenly your weekend's gone, you know, and you haven't done any study. So don't just pop in when you've got uni work. Also put in your diary when you have all of your other things that you need to do. And you can also factor in downtime for yourself. You know, if you're just like, okay, I'm the type of person who actually needs to put in my diary that, like, for these 3 hours, I'm just going to sit on the couch and, like, binge YouTube, do it, if that's what you need to do. But then also, add in your study time as well. Because like I said, it is that kind of full-time load does mean full-time work, okay? So if you are realistic about planning, okay, well, when am I going to do each of my studies, do my readings or get started on an assignment or something like that, it's best to try and work in 2 to 3 hour blocks, to be honest. So we're the most efficient with our time when we work for about 2 or 3 hours. And actually even within that, and I'll talk about that more in a minute, is to break it down into like 25 to 45 minute little mini study sessions with a small break and then do another one. So pop those in your diary, and then before you know it, it's full. You know, so what originally started looking like, oh, I've got so much time, uni is going to be so easy, I'm going to, you know, it's going to be so chill, actually isn't so chill, right? So it's all just about planning and preparing. Another important part of being prepared and being organised is trying to set goals for yourself. So this will help you to stay on top of that assignment load when it comes. So what I recommend is not just writing goals for like, okay, my goal is to finish my 2,000 word essay on this date so that I've got time to draft it, but actually break up each of your study sessions into little goals. So if you've set aside 2 hours for your study, okay, in this 2 hours, I want to read this article and want to make notes in preparation for my next lecture. Okay, so setting goals helps keep you stay focused, and it will help you keep track of those bigger due dates that you've got. It's all about chunking, okay? So it's like breaking up big tasks into small tasks so that they seem achievable. Does that kind of make sense to everybody? Yeah? Sorry, I'm just like conscious of time. So the semester is about 13 weeks, 14 weeks long. You do have the mid-semester breaks in April and September, but what's important to know about those breaks is they are non-contact time, they're not no study time. So you will still be expected to continue your studies over that break. So you might still have assignments that are due, or you might have readings you need to complete, that kind of thing. So don't go booking, you know, too many holidays around that time, unless you're very, very organised and get it all done early. These dates are really important to know. They'll be on your semester planners, and you can ask any of us about them if you need to. But the last day to enroll, so if you want to get into a class, census date. Do you guys know what the census date means? No? A few confused faces. Basically, the census date is the last day that you can withdraw from a topic without fail and without fees as well. So if you start a topic and you're like, you know what, this is really not for me, you can withdraw and it's like you never enrolled at all. So you don't have to pay for it and you won't get a fail for it. Okay, so that's an important one to know. This is the last day to withdraw without fail, so that means you will still have to pay for that course, but you won't get a fail on your GPA, okay? So yeah, any questions about any of those dates, please chat to me or to these guys and we can help you figure those out, especially if you're starting to panic through the semester and you're feeling like, I don't know if I can keep up, or I hate this topic, I don't want to do it anymore, what can I do, okay? Know that there's options, you're not stuck. So this is what I mean about breaking down the whole semester, in which I I start with putting in, say, when all of your assignments are due throughout the whole semester. So, well, this is just a month, but I would do this for the whole semester. So let's just say you've got an English reflection, an essay due, and a comms essay. So that's 1,000 words, that's 2,000 words, that's 1,500 words. So all three of those assignments are going to require different lengths of time in order to get them done, right? So I always start at when it's due and I work backwards. Okay, so if it's a 1,000 word essay, too far. I then start to put in, okay, no, I'm actually going from this one. If I've got a 2,000 word essay, I'm probably going to want about 3 weeks realistically to get that done. So I start moving backwards. I'm going to start 3 weeks before it. I'm going to start planning that essay. So I'm going to write myself a plan so that I know what I need to research, what the key ideas are that I want to write about. I'm going to make sure that I understand the question well. And then means if you need to come and see me to go over anything, or if you need to talk to your YTP tutor, you've got time. Then a week later, okay, I'm going to go start my research over here. Then I'm going to revise it. I'm going to start writing my draft about halfway through this process. Then if I've got my full draft finished a week later, I've got like 4 days to polish that draft, finish all my references, and then it's due. Okay, so can you see how breaking it down into those sort of steps helps you keep on track of all of your assignments? So it's not just about putting due dates in your diary. I think it's about putting every step of the process into your diary. And again, I'll come and I can help you with that if you would like me to. And then once you do that for everything, you can start to get a more realistic idea of how your workload will be spread out over the semester. Because as I said, it'll do that, right? So if you do this, you can help it just be a little bit more stable and not get too overwhelmed. So the next thing is being prepared. And this really means knowing what you need for class. So having a look at Flow to see what readings do you need to download, what textbooks do you need to buy, are they available to download on Flow, or are you actually going to need a physical copy? Do you need to finish any readings before class? By the way, the Co-op bookshop is technically still there now, but it will be closing. Anyway, in terms of getting textbooks, if you do need to buy them, you might need to buy them online. Booktopia has taken over the Co-op. But don't panic too much about that. That is the type of thing you can ask your tutors about in your first class, because the case might be that you may not even need to buy it. You might be able to borrow it from the library, or you might be able to access chapters online. But it's just about knowing. So have a look on Flow. Don't be afraid to ask your tutor in your first class, what do I actually need? So in terms of what you guys should expect, have many of you been to a lecture before? I suppose until yesterday, like a big, those big theatres like Simone did yesterday. I'm just getting entirely blank faces. So basically, like, all topics still really have lectures. These days, most of them are recorded, just like I'm being recorded right now. So you can generally catch up with them online. Some, however, do have requirements for you to attend. So that's, again, something you need to look at your topic guidebook to find out, because that will tell you whether or not lecture attendance is required. It is rare that lecture attendance is compulsory, but it does still happen. Usually in a lecture, you don't have to participate, but you do need to do things like take notes or have come to the lecture having completed your readings so that you can understand the lecture content, because this is the primary way that course material will be transmitted to you. So it's really easy to switch off in a lecture and get a bit drowsy and sort of like fall asleep, as this guy's doing. But if you take notes, you're going to be listening much more actively, and that'll help you stay alert and aware during the lecture, which is really important. But also remember that if the lecture is available online afterwards, you can always go back to it. So if you miss something, don't panic. You can usually also download the lecture slides. Sometimes these are even made available before the lecture, which means you can print them, bring the printed out slides with you to the lecture, and you can make notes on that if that's a way that you like to work. Fortunately, that does require the lecturer to be very prepared and organised, and as you'll probably soon discover, lecturers are often not prepared and organised. So then there's tutorials, and these are your much smaller groups. It'll look a lot like this, right? What we're doing right now, where you'll all be in a smaller group, sitting around usually smaller tables. This is where you are expected to participate. So your engagement in tutorials is really important, and sometimes you'll even be graded on your participation. But that can mean lots of different things. So if you feel really shy and you don't like talking up in class, know that there are other ways that you can participate. So it might be in small group work, it might be by joining the online flow discussions. This is also where you will get to chat to your tutor. So your tutor may or may not be the main lecturer or the topic coordinator. So often in big topics, you have a topic coordinator who sort of is the person who runs everything. Then they might have like 5 or 6 tutors who all teach that topic. So your tutor is the person you'll see every week. They will get to know who you are. And so they will be your first kind of go-to person that you can ask questions to, send emails to, etc. Then if they don't know something, they'll probably either bring it up with the topic coordinator or refer you to the topic coordinator, okay? So this is also where you're expected to engage in discussion. So usually, like, well, again, it depends what you're studying. You will be expected to participate, so you do have to come to class having watched the lecture or done your readings, because otherwise it'll be pretty obvious to your tutor that you haven't, because you won't be able to engage in class. So this is sort of what your lecturers expect of you, that you do attend and engage in class, that you're prepared to participate in class, that you're an independent learner. So basically what that means is that you're able to do things on, like, study or research on your own. You're able to manage your time on your own. Remember that there can be something like 300 students studying your one topic. And so even though you get to know your tutor, they're probably teaching a lot of different classes. They usually only see you for an hour a week. They're not going to chase you down if you don't hand something up. Okay, it's not like in school. If you don't submit something, they'll just be like, you didn't submit. Okay, fine. That's one less paper I have to mark. Great. So, so they do expect that of you, but it also doesn't mean you're alone. Okay, being an independent learner doesn't mean that you're on your own in this. You've got people like me, the Study Skills Advisor at Yunggorendi. You've got these guys. There's the Student Learning Centre, there's Health and Counselling, there's Oasis, there's all of these different support networks to help you become independent learners, okay? So don't feel like that means you're on your own. They also expect you to follow academic conventions in your assignments. So this is learning, what does an essay look like? You know, how should it be structured? What kind of academic language am I expected to use? What discipline-specific language am I expected to use? So if you're studying nursing, for example, there will be very specific requirements for the kinds of language, the types of resources that you use, you know, where you do your research, things like that. There's also, they expect you to abide by academic integrity standards, and I'll touch on that briefly in a moment, but I'm going to do a workshop in a few weeks that's all about referencing and academic integrity. So if you're feeling a bit freaked out by the idea of referencing, I'll, let you know when that's happening, which will be soon-ish. And also, of course, to be respectful and be treated respectfully. And there are a lot of advocacy groups in the university as well. So if something does happen in class that makes you uncomfortable or makes you feel like, you have been discriminated against, you can come and see these guys. And then Flinders does have proper channels. So I did have details for all of these, but I'm just going to skip through them for time. But I will send you the slides, and they're also in your workbooks that I gave you, that you got in your bags at the beginning. So, yeah. Oh, and this is the last one. Have fun. Look after yourself and have fun. This is a really, really important one. It's easy to overlook. So Yunggorendi, we host like free lunches. Are they every week? Every week there's a free lunch up in the student lounge. So you can just come, eat free food, hang out, chat to people. There's also, again, join clubs, do that kind of thing. They do like movie nights, all sorts of different stuff. So like do try to enjoy yourself as well, because it's really important for your well-being, which is part of your life balance. Like just because you're now students and you're full-time students, it doesn't mean that the rest of your life just suddenly falls apart or falls away, or that you're not allowed to see your friends anymore, or you have to quit your job because you need to study full-time. It's all about balance, okay? So don't neglect your physical and mental health, or your family and friends. Just like try and just be organized, right? That's the important thing. So this is, well, I guess, what do you guys do when you need some self-care time? Does anyone have like a special, like, I don't know, for me, I just like to spend my Saturday mornings sitting on my couch playing Xbox for an hour, and then I'm just like, okay, my brain's done nothing for a while, now I can get on with my day. That's how I take care of myself. What do you guys like to do?
I do self-care Sunday.
Oh!
It's the easiest thing, it's the end of the week.
Yep.
And so it's just things that I enjoy that don't really require me leaving home.
Yep.
So it's just like face masks and doing all that.
Great.
The things that I find relaxing where I can just switch off.
And you actually call it Self-Care Sunday.
Yeah.
It's great. That's awesome. I like the alliteration. That's good. Anyone else have a similar thing? Yes, nice. Go to the beach. I love going to the beach with a book. It's my favourite thing in the world, is sitting on the sand and reading a book and listening to the waves. Yeah, that's a good one. Any others?
I like going for a long run and then just watching Netflix after.
Yep. I like going for short jogs and then 20-minute jogs and watching Netflix.
I like to tire myself out to the point where I can't move.
Oh, really?
So then I can just watch Netflix all day and just chill.
And not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
Because that's actually so. Does anyone feel guilty when they spend time just doing nothing?
Yeah.
I feel really guilty when I spend time doing nothing, and I'm terrible at it. And so I actually, like, when I was doing my PhD, I had to put in my diary, like, this is your downtime, and it is important because otherwise you will have a breakdown. Like I had to tell myself that, you know what, looking after yourself is part of being a student. You don't have to feel guilty because you're taking some time out to, go for a run or go to the beach or hang out with your friends. If you don't do those things, you will burn out, and nobody wants that because that's just going to make it harder for you in the long run. At the same time, it's really easy to use that to, if you're a procrastinator like me, for that to become a really good excuse. Like, oh, but I really do. And I procrastinate by doing what I call productive procrastination, or proactive procrastination is what I call it. And that's where suddenly like the dishes become like a really important task, or oh, there's all this dirt on the floor, I really need a vacuum. Like that's way more important than doing anything else. That's probably a sign that you actually need some chill time, you need some downtime. Conversely though, it can be really easy to be like, oh no, I've done like 15 minutes of work, I definitely deserve 2 hours of Netflix now. So, just be realistic with yourself, be honest with yourself about what you're doing. Because procrastination is probably one of the hardest things that you have to deal with at university. Is anyone here also a notorious procrastinator? Yeah. 95% of people self-identify as procrastinators. 95%. 50% to procrastinate to a detrimental degree, okay? So like this is something that affects all of us. Nobody ever wants to do something in advance. Like we're just not, I don't know, the human brain isn't built for it. And so really this is just basically when we put off a task that needs to be done. But again, the important thing about procrastinating is that, like I said, it doesn't always look like just watching Netflix or spending too much time on Instagram, because I find myself, when like sometimes I pick up my phone to check an email and then I realize 20 minutes later that I'm on Reddit and I go, hang on a minute, what happened? How did I get here? That is procrastination, but often procrastination can look like something else. Procrastination can look like, oh, I'm not ready to write my essay yet, so I'm just going to keep researching. But actually, do you need to keep researching? Maybe you've got everything you need. Maybe you're just doing that because it's a little bit easier than actually sitting down and starting to write, you know? So it's important to understand that procrastination is not always just being lazy, okay? It's often because we feel like the task is too difficult, that we're not prepared enough to do something, that we are feeling overwhelmed, that we don't have enough interest in something. Often we procrastinate because we feel too busy, which is hugely ironic because, of course, if you're busy, you feel like you should be able to just get everything done. But often we procrastinate the most when we're the most busy. So don't feel like the motivation to work is just like this magical thing that will just happen to you. The muses will bless you, and then one day you'll sit down at your computer and just like, oh yeah, this essay is just flowing right through me right now. That is never going to happen. It happens, I reckon, like, I have had that happen before, and I think it's happened probably like 5 times in the last 10 years, you know, like those really magic moments where inspiration strikes you in the back of the head and you can't stop until you get this thing out. The truth is that motivation is caused by action. When you start doing something, you can see the success of you starting to do something, and this is why having goals can really, really help. Even if you write yourself a to-do list or a checklist that even has the small, I write to-do lists that have the tiniest things on them, like reply to this one specific email, right? Because then I can tick it off. And if I tick it off, I get a sense of accomplishment. And if I get that sense of accomplishment, I'm more motivated to tick off the next thing, okay? So break it down, remember that in order to get something done, you have to start doing it, even when you don't want to. And this is where you can break. I do have some more tips for you, things like using the Pomodoro method. I'm going to talk to you about that in my assignments how-to workshop. But just, yeah, I've got it sort of very briefly here. So I've talked a lot about planning, so I won't harp on about it too much more because hopefully you all know, and you know that you can come and see me if you need some help with your planning. And if you want me to, I can run a whole workshop later in the semester just on planning and time management if you guys want it. Study in the right environment, so make sure you put away your distractions, close extra tabs on your browsers if you don't need them, put your phone upside down so you can't see notifications when they come, and if you have like a study space at home that you can use as a specific study space, that would be really great. Or come into uni, you know, and study in the library or in the student, you know, in the student lounge, so that you've like, yep, I'm here, this is my study time, and it's not the time when I'm gonna, you know, do a bunch of other stuff. So the Pomodoro method, has anyone heard of this before? It's basically about having, so it's named Pomodoro after a tomato timer that the guy who invented it had. It's a little timer that goes off after 25 minutes. So you set it, or whatever timer you have, for about 25 minutes, and that is an intensive study time. So you're working really hard for that 25 minutes with no distractions. Then your timer goes off and you get 5 minutes break, 5 minutes to do whatever you want, go to the toilet, check your emails, whatever, and then you come back and you do it again. So research shows that those short bursts really help with concentration. And it's also a very short amount of time, so that it means if you do get a notification or an email or something, your brain is not just like, oh no, I have to reply to that now, because you can say, well, 20 minutes is not that far away. You know, there's nothing that's, unless it's an emergency, that's so important that it can't wait 25 minutes until your break comes, right? So it can be just useful for dealing with that part of your brain, if you have a brain like mine that wants to jump to the next thing really, really quickly. Or you can use 45-minute intervals, whatever works for you. So I suggest that. And again, if you want to know more about it, come and see me. So you'll hear more about all of the academic support stuff that's available. But again, come and see me. There's also the Student Learning Centre, which I talked very briefly about yesterday, and YTP program for any academic support. All of this stuff is in that booklet that you've got as well. So you can find all this information there. I also have the Study Skills blog that I run. So I've got a whole bunch of basically time management blogs and resources and videos and things like that if you want to know anything more. I've also got a couple of procrastination blogs if you want more about that. And if you are feeling super, super overwhelmed, you can't deal with things, we've got Tanya, who's just started as the Wellbeing Coordinator. You would have met her very briefly yesterday. And there's also health and counselling. So the important thing is if you're struggling with anything, just speak up, okay? Just don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to come and see us. There are no stupid questions when, you know, like seriously, even if you feel like, oh, this is probably super obvious. Like even something like, do I call my tutor by their name or do I call them Dr. whoever or Mr. whoever? Even if you have a question like that, that's not stupid, okay? You guys are here for the first time. There's a lot of information that's going to be coming at you about a whole bunch of different stuff. So just come and talk to us if you need to, okay? And that's me done for now. Oh, that's advocacy, but you can... Oh, and go to O Week next week, okay? Where you can find out a whole bunch of other stuff. Yeah, I think that's it. Is there anything else? No? Okay.